Hello, welcome to Mark's Remarks, and today I'm going to be doing a follow-up on a video I did not long ago, when I used to keep chickens. That was it, and this will be part 2. Now the last one I covered, if you want to go back, I covered acquiring and housing chickens. This one I'll be talking about the healthcare of the chickens, and possibly, depending on what the time is, feeding the chickens also. All right, but healthcare. And now, when you have chickens in the back garden, because they live in the garden, they're out there in the wild. There's no way of getting around what's known as red mite. It's these little tiny mites that live on the chickens. Well, what they do is during the day. Well, it depends on what the hell, I don't know. They'll climb onto the chickens. They'll live on the warm chickens, and they'll be sucking their blood. But also, what they'll do, they'll be hiding. If you have wooden beams. If your run is made of wood, and you have wooden beams, or the perch that they're on, of course it may be made of wood, maybe having a branch, where it's connected to the run, at either side there'll be a tiny, where the two bits of wood join, there's a tiny crack or a gap. They're hiding there. Then they come out, and mostly at night, when the chickens are sort of on their perch, they'll climb on there and they'll be sucking their blood. And it's a bit of a drag, because what happens is if it's not treated, the chickens become unwell. I mean, they can suffer from severe blood loss. I mean, if they left unchecked, and when they get ill like that through blood loss, it affects their health, it affects their well-being, which in turn affects their egg-laying potential. If a sick bird doesn't lay so many eggs, it's just not healthy, and it's no done. So what I've done over the weekend, I scoured the charity shops looking for a life looking chicken. Which this is the nearest thing I could find to a chicken. I don't know what it is. It's I thought it might be a penguin, but it's got like I don't know what. Anyway, it looks. This will do as a demonstration for the so I can show you about the chicken. Now, like I mentioned before on the previous video, I can't remember the name. It's like a long word for the name of the powder. What it is, it's millions of years ago, when all these sea crustaceans are swimming around, all the little bacteria and that were swimming in the ocean. They die, they settle down into the mud, and over the millions of years, all that that compacts, and then of course the ocean goes, and then you're left with kind of like a clay sort of thing. And what they do, it's the fossilized remains of all those crustaceans, and what they do, they pulverize this dried up sediment, turn it into powder, and that's what you spread on your chickens. Now I can show you on this little stuffed animal here. The way you find red mite is actually what I'll do. I'll explain that, and then I'll explain how it is you manage to grab hold of the chickens. What you do, first of all, I'll explain. Once you get your chickens, you need your chickens to be able to trust you, because imagine those. I mean, this is actually about the size of a bantam chicken. Okay, but this is about the size of a bantam chicken. They're all roughly this size, depending on the breed, but they're about this. Now, and you imagine a chicken on the floor like that and sees you as a giant. It's going to be pretty scared, because you're brand new, and it doesn't know whether you're a friend or foe, if you're a predator, or no matter how much you feed them, they're still going to be wary of you. So what it does, it takes time. So what you do is, I used to hold food in my hand, grain, and they used to, they used to drop a little bit around the area, of where I'm sitting in the garden, and they still wouldn't come and eat out of my hand for a full month. It was like pretty much to the day. It was a full month before they would eat out of the hand. Otherwise, they'd come close and they'd be eating around. As soon as you go near, you know, put your arm near them, then they'd run off. And then what you do when they start to eat out your hand, then what you can do is you can just gently, you know, use your, as they're eating, just, you know, you make contact with them. You know, gently stroke them with your finger, you know, like, you know, along the, you know, wherever, on the wing, on the back, on the front, around the ears. Basically, you're showing them that even though, you know, you're coming into contact, they're getting used to being handled. You know, in a very sort of sort of an abstract kind of way. You're not grabbing them. You just gently keep coming into contact. Your hand is coming into contact with them, and they think, oh, well, you know, if he was going to do me any harm, he would have done it by now. So they get used to you, and then eventually they'll eat out your hand, and which this does make it a lot easier to do the health checks, because them coming to you and trusting you not to hurt them means that you can inspect them pretty much without having to handle them too much. But it's fun to handle the chickens. Now, having said that, right? So you've got over a period of time, you just hold basically you hold the food out, and they won't go for it eventually. So you just throw it on the ground, and then they'll eat it. But eventually they will. Now, when they get super used to you, eventually you'll be holding the food out, and then some of them will be in a group. There'll be 3 or 4 of them in a group eating out of your hand, and one of them will jump on your arm because he wants a better angle at the food. You know, be sitting on your forearm like this. They'll just jump. I've had them jumping on my shoulder. You know, jump. You know, if you're sitting down, they jump on your leg. Now, now that sounds all good and fun, but there is a reason why it's helpful for that to happen, because if they're friendly enough and they trust you enough to come over and actually jump on your hand and eat out your hand, that means that when you're holding it, say they're on your hand here and they're eating out your hand, you're enjoying the fact that you've got your animal eating out your hand, but also what you do, you take this opportunity to look over the animal. You know, instead of grabbing the bird at some point and giving it a examination all over, you take this opportunity while he's eating out your hand. You look at them. You're looking at their eyes, because basically you're this close. You know, you can be 8 inches away from them, because it's less than an arm's length. You see, so you take the opportunity to look into their eyes, see if there's any gunk and crap and anything in their eyes, or anything that's obscuring their eye. You know, make sure their eyes are wide. They're clear. They're healthy looking. If one of the eyes is all closed and it's hard to see out of it, then there's something up. So this is why you look at the eyes. You check in both eyes to make sure they're clear, they're bright. There's nothing going on in there. There's no contamination, no dirt, no anything going on that shouldn't be going on. Okay. And also you take the opportunity to look at their beak. You know, they will have a rounded beak if they've come from. I touched on this. About the battery system chickens, the last video. If you do get battery hens, again, they'll probably take a little bit more time to get used to you, because they've never been handled, except the only time they ever get handled is grabbed and thrown into a box, and I've seen this on the television. They get grabbed, they get their face. What you'll find is if they'll have a rounded beak. They're not like a raptor or an eagle, where they've got a pointed beak for ripping meat. They have a pointed beak, but rounded at the end. Battery ones have been snipped almost in half. What happen is, to stop them in the battery system from ripping out their own feathers, because they go a bit do lally, they grab them, stuff their face into basically it's like nail clippers, like you would do to clip your fingers. They stuff their face into that, snip the beak off, and then throw them into a box. I've seen it on documentaries. So their beak will actually be half the length of what it should be. It'll be quite clear against non-battery hens, the difference. They've just snipped half the beak off. It's just to stop them from hurting themselves. But either way, you're looking. So aside from the eyes, You're looking at the beak. Is their mouth working all right? You'll without physically opening their mouth, you better see in their mouth when they eat and swallow grain. Is there anything in their mouth? Is there anything jammed in the corner of their mouth? You know, some kind. If they got any grass or I've seen this, that they'll be eating grass or eating something, and you get something caught. They'll be in the corner of their mouth. You know, you don't want any contamination there, any feathers or any gunge, any kind of ailment will tell in their eyes and their beak and other. You know, basically they're all conditioned. So you're looking at their mouth. Look and make sure it's clear. There's no mud. They haven't got anything jammed up in their nostrils. Yeah, look at the nostrils as well. And also you'll see inside, you'll see the tongue as well. And while you're at it, you're looking at all these things, and you know they're enjoying it because they're close to you. You can pet them. While you're petting them, they like that once they get to know you. But also you're looking at you know, you can look under the feathers. Look under the feathers. See if there's any missing feathers. See if there's any scale, anything, you know, in there that shouldn't be. Look at their comb, which is it's a bit more prominent on a real chicken, but their comb, that white, that red thing on the top of the head. Make sure that's a nice colour. You know, it should be sort of roughly pinkish colour. Make sure that's not damaged. It hasn't been scratched or injured where they've been fighting other birds or anything's attacked them. You'll better see, you know, make sure there's no blood or anything going on there. Looking at their feet while they're perched on your hand, take the opportunity to look at their toes. Look between their toes. Is there any damage to the feet? Look at the legs. Is there anything contaminating the legs? Any mud? What you don't want, you know, if they're caked in mud, you can always wash them in get a shallow bucket, shallow bowl, wash their feet, get all the, you know, because remember they're walking around all day. They're, you know, they're walking in the mud, the gunge, and all kinds of nasty, you know, in the garden. So check their feet. What you don't want is for mud to be caked in between the toes and on the feet, because that will dry. And that will get wet, and that will dry again. It'll cause chafing, and it'll cause soreness. You don't want that. So check their feet, check their claws. Make sure the claws are not overgrown. If they are, you can find out ways of trimming those without damaging the bird. And also, in the process of handling the bird, they like to be petted after a while. Look at the feathers. You know, the feathers go. You know, like you'll see there's a grain that the feathers go downwards. It's to deflect water, although they're not waterproof, so don't let them swim in ponds. If you don't let them, you know, because they will drown. If you have ducks, like I know somebody who had ducks as well. The ducks got in there and drowned. They don't swim. They don't swim. They don't take to their feathers getting wet. Okay, but so having said that, you know, lift up their feathers. Oh, I'll do it on that side. Lift up their feathers. Look underneath. Once you lift up the feathers, you'll be able to see their pink skin underneath. Now, when you lift that up, you'll see those little sodding red mite. What they'll do, as soon as you lift it up, they're quick because they'll move. As soon as they see the light, they go, oh shit, you know, something's going on, and they'll move to another part of the body. Once you see that, you figure if one bird has it, because they pretty much all perch together, if one bird has it, then they'll all be sharing the same perch, and they'll all be contaminated, you know, they'll all have the red mite. It's not too much of a deal. Just get that powder, red mite powder, and it's easier, unless they're super conditioned to allow you to handle them. Like I say, out of my 8, some of them would, some of them wouldn't. Some of them just run a mile. Seems like, you know, they just, no matter what you do. But if they are a problem to get hold of, what you do, you pick them up basically, you know. And you know, lay them gently. Oh, you can't see, but you lay them down gently in a narrow bucket, and then you basically sprinkle it on. You rub it in under the feathers, under the wing. You know, because it's warm under the wing. That's where the little lice like to, you know, get it. You know, spray it all over under the feathers, on the arse, round the. It doesn't matter if you it won't harm them if it gets if they ingest any, but don't let them ingest too much. I mean, it's not food or nothing, but it won't. It's not like a pesticide where you've really got to keep it out of their mouths and eyes. But try not to get it in their faces. But get it around the neck as well as best you can. Be gentle, you know. Be gentle. And if they're not to the stage where you can handle them very well during the day, because they'll run around, wait until night time. Wait until they're all lined up on their perch in their run, and then you just go in there and you can pick them up because they're right docile at night when it's dark. You can pick them up and they won't say a peep because they'll just, you know, they're sort of half asleep, you know. Anyway, so yeah, like I say, just you can just lift up the feathers, lift up the wings. The little mice might like to be on the front and on the wings especially. You can see it on the back. Just turn up the feathers. You know, turn up the feathers against the grain there. You can see them, but they're like the size of a flea. Well, they're like a flea. Then when they see the light, they'll run. But do that. Do that once, and then 3 days, 2, 3, 4 days later, do it again. Because what you're doing, you're killing the lice, but also you want to kill the eggs. You want to give them a second treatment. And also, I mean, it's quite expensive, this stuff. It's like a 10 quid for a bottle that's about the size of a washing up liquid bottle, I guess. What was I going to say? But, oh crap, I lost my track now. Anyway, it's about the size of a washing up liquid bottle. But what I used to do was have a narrow washing up bowl, which I used to put them in, sprinkle the powder all over them, and I used to do it really, really go to town with the powder, because the powder would settle in the tray. So, and I used to put it away, so the next time the powder's already in the tray. It doesn't matter about, if there's one or two, if there's some lice in there, it doesn't matter, because they're all dead. It's not like they're living in there, so you can actually. If it's that, it's not like it's riddled with lice. Sometimes you might only have 6 or 8 lice or whatever on there, but you can reuse the powder and just sprinkle that over again. Especially if you're doing 3 days later, because what it does, the powder, because if you look at it under a microscope, it's very jagged and. Sort of like, rough and spiky. You look under a microscope, that is, the powder granules. And what it does, when it comes in contact with the lice, what it does, it scratches their coating off, and it basically kills them off because it scratches the waxy coating that's on them that protects them, and then they end up dying. So that's good news for the chicken, and they get back to normal. But yeah, like I say, last time I bought some, it was about 10 quid. You can buy it from eBay, buy it for pet shops, maybe go to the market. Yeah, so anyway, I didn't get around to, it's an 18-minute video. I didn't get around to talking about the food. But what I'll do, if this video is popular, the first one was popular. If this one's popular again, I'll do one about the food, how to feed your chickens for really cheap, free, and next to nothing. Make your pound go that extra further distance. What else can I talk about? But yeah, you're going to have to do that sort of, once a month. Do the powder, and if you do, don't wait until. Try not to wait until they've got lice on them, or red mite rather. Prevention is better than cure. What you do, you probably want to do it, at least once a month. But if you can reuse the powder, so it's not much problem there, so that makes it a bit cheaper. Just really go to town on the, get it in under the wings, up, on the arse, around the feet, around the neck, under the wings, on the back, everywhere. And then, like I say, you can reuse the powder next time. But if you do it like once a month, then hopefully that will keep it under control. That will give enough coating on there that the lice will come along, and the red mite, keep calling them lice, the red mite will come along and then disappear. Oh, and that was the other thing, if you use the powder, you can either use the powder in the nooks and crannies of the wooden run, that the housing area that the chickens live in, the caged area. Either use powder in the nooks and crannies where all the little cracks, because they live in the cracks, they're, sneaky, or what you can do, make sure that the chickens are well away, and then get some boiling water and pour that over the. You can pour that into the joins where the two joins of wood meet, all the little nooks. Get some boiling water in there, and that'll fix them as well. And then wait until that cools down, wait until that dries, and then if you want, sprinkle some powder over it, because that's where they live. They come out, and then as soon as nighttime comes, they're crawling all over the chickens and sucking on the blood, and that doesn't help them much at all. Okay, so anyway, that's some on the healthcare. That's the things to look out for to make sure you got a healthy bird. And also, what you can do is, rather than wait until something happens, is to check in your local area. You might have a vet, but it's worth chatting to them. Either go in there, ring them up, chatting to them to make sure that they've got a vet who is familiar with poultry. Because when you think of vets, you think of cats, dogs, you send the usual in there. But not all of them will be familiar with poultry. So ring them up, make sure, just find out. And then when the need arises, at least you can go straight there, because eventually you will, they will have, you might well have problems. I mean, it's not like you can, no matter how much you look after them, they're going to run into problems. They're just like people, they're just like dogs, they're going to run into health problems. So check with your vet, see if you get an idea of prices and whatnot else, all that lot. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I am got this is going to be it's almost 22 minutes. Let me know in the comments, via the comments and the thumbs up, whether you like this, if you found this interesting. If you don't have chickens, at least you've learned something new, perhaps, something that you may not have known. It's just plain interesting. I really like having the birds. And if this is popular enough, next week I could do another 20 minutes on how to feed them, what to feed them, how to feed them, how to get free food, and what things to look out in the wild that you can get for free, and also the things not to feed them. There are certain things that they won't eat, and certain things that are not good that you can feed them, but that are not good. Something, I'll give you a hint. Lawn cuttings. All right, I don't want to delve in it too deep, but people say, oh yeah, you get some lawn cuttings, throw that in there, they'll just munch away. Well, the fact is they will eat lawn cuttings, because they will eat grass, and they'll eat flowers, and they'll eat petals, all that stuff. But the trouble is, if you let them run around on your lawn, they can pick and choose what they eat. They're not stupid. They know what is good for them, and they know what is not good for them, and they know what they like, and they will leave what they don't. If you shred it all up in the lawnmower and then throw that in, it's the equivalent of your parent hiding vegetables in your mashed potato. You don't know what's in there. They will eat it, but then they will eat what is poisonous to them, because they don't know it's there. They're just eating a big pile of shredded greenery. Okay, so the best not to throw lawn. Anyway, that's just one hint on the subject. So anyway, what I'll do, I hope that was useful. If it was, then like I say, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, tell me what you think. If there's any questions that you'd like to know about, then I can add them into the next video. And I've enjoyed talking about the chickens. It's a subject that I really like, and I wish I could have a house that has a garden so I could have the chickens. But unfortunately, I'm out of luck for the time being. But in the meantime, I don't mind talking about it. So, like I say, anyway, thank you very much for I hope you stuck around to the end, and thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.